Floods in the Xinjiang desert stun netizens. Hundreds of homeowners block police car in Hangzhou, demanding the release of detained protesters. Nearly 2,000 local TV stations in China face closure. Shingles sweep across China. 17 state-controlled companies exposed for fraud. Millions of shareholders suffer losses. Wage delays spark worker strike at San'ao nuclear project in Wenzhou. Internet ID and certificate system falters as netizen resistance yields initial victory. On August 27th, the topic of a flood in the Taklamakan Desert in Xinjiang province became a trending topic on Chinese social media. A flood hit the Taklamakan Desert on August 24th, leaving many tourists shocked. People quickly recorded videos and exclaimed, "Oh my God, there's a flood in the Taklamakan Desert, a flood." Some tourists found their cars wading through the desert, with their tires half submerged in water. Several vehicles stalled and couldn't move. One internet user posted a video saying, "Hi everyone, I'm in the Taklamakan Desert right now and there's a flood here. I can't believe it. Where did this water come from? This is a desert, and yet there's a flood. The water on the desert road is about 1 meter deep." Someone else said, "The desert is flooded and traffic has been stuck for an hour. Many cars have stalled in the water. I never thought my trip to Xinjiang would end up with my car turned into a waterlogged vehicle in the desert." These videos sparked heated discussions online. People commented, "Flood and desert, it's like they walked into the wrong movie set. If you live long enough, you'll see anything. I feel like this isn't a good thing. The weather is so strange. The desert is flooding, yet along the coast it hasn't rained in almost a month. This is so bizarre. Where's all this water coming from?" And experts say it's caused by melting snow from the mountains. But seriously, how much snow is on these mountains? The authorities have attributed the cause the recent flood of the Taklamakan Desert to melting snow and heavy rainfall. However, many people seem skeptical of this explanation. According to available data, the Taklamakan Desert is located in the middle of the Tarim Basin in Xinjiang. It is the largest desert in China and the 10th largest desert in the world. It is also the second largest shifting sand desert globally, covering an area of 330,000 square kilometers. Western explorers once dubbed it the Sea of Death. It is classified as a warm temperate desert with very little rainfall each year, typically no more than 100 millimeters, and sometimes as low as 4 to 5 millimeters, while its average evaporation rate is as high as 2,500 to 3,400 millimeters. In recent years, the Taklamakan Desert has experienced 3 floods. In July 2021, a flood hit the Yiqi area of China Petroleum's northwest oil field, located within the desert, inundating an area of over 300 square kilometers. During the summer of 2022, the main stream of the Tarim River, as well as its tributaries, such as the Yarkand River, Aksu River, and Weigan River, experienced floods that exceeded the warning levels. This flooding event lasted for 80 days, ending only on September 22nd. On the evening of August 25th, a protest broke out in Shengli Community Zone 3 in Linping District, Hangzhou, Zhejiang Province. Over 100 residents blocked a police car, demanding the release of fellow residents who had been detained earlier in the day for their protest. Earlier that day, residents of Zone 3 clashed with a property management company over parking fees. Several residents, described as leaders of the protest, were arrested by the police when they arrived on the scene. According to the residents, the property management company and the developer had previously promised free parking services. However, they recently announced a plan to start charging fees. The residents believed that this change severely harmed their rights. After multiple unsuccessful attempts to negotiate with the property management company, they decided to take collective action. In the afternoon of August 25th, dozens of residents gathered in front of the property management office to protest the new policy. They demanded that the company cancel the unreasonable parking fees and renegotiate with the developer. As more residents joined the protest, tensions escalated. During the protest, some of the more emotional residents got into physical altercations with the property staff, causing a moment of chaos. The property management company called the police, who arrived quickly after receiving the report. Despite the police presence, the standoff continued. Several residents considered to be leading the protest were arrested and taken to the police station. Hundreds of residents spontaneously gathered at the entrance of the community. They surrounded a police car, demanding the release of the detained residents. The residents believed that the police's actions infringed on their legal rights to defend themselves. They insisted that their protest was a reasonable effort to protect their own interests and that no one should have been arbitrarily detained. The gathered residents were emotional, repeatedly shouting, "Release them! Release them!" They also blocked the police car from leaving. The police formed a human wall by linking arms, standing in opposition to the residents. The atmosphere was tense, and the standoff lasted for several hours, continuing late into the night. A netizen commented, "The residents' protest is legitimate. They were promised free parking, and now it's suddenly being changed. Who could accept that? The developers and property management are just bullying the common people." In his blog, Wang Miaosen commented on the incident, stating, "In China, the police often side with property management companies. The reason behind this is that property management companies represent the CCP government's most basic level of control over the people. By controlling property management, they also control millions of homeowners." China's economy continues to struggle, with reports of salary cuts and layoffs spreading across various industries. According to a recent report from China's Sohu, nearly 700 county-level TV stations had shut down or ceased broadcasting by the end of 2023, and this wave of closures is continuing to grow. Additionally, almost 2,000 county-level TV stations nationwide are at risk of shutting down. This news has sparked widespread discussion. A public account called Media Transition stated that a blogger mentioned having dinner with the head of a county-level media center. During the meal, the head discussed the current situation, saying that journalists are performing ineffective labor and television is engaging in ineffective broadcasting, leading to wasted public funds. The media center in his county has more than 60 employees, but it produces no meaningful output. Their local news programs have almost zero viewership, and the only time the center seems to serve any purpose is when officials have meetings or investigations, and the cameras provide a sense of formality. Beyond that, the head said, there's no clear purpose. Regarding this large wave of closures, many people believe this reflects a broader societal issue. In China, local TV stations are considered public institutions and have long depended on government funding. In the past, employees of these stations enjoyed job security with generous pay and benefits. Now, with local governments facing financial difficulties, these stations can no longer survive. As TV stations close, many employees will be left without a job, and finding new jobs won't be easy for them. At the same time, the rise of independent media has also put pressure on traditional outlets. Nowadays, anyone with a smartphone and a camera can become an independent content creator, quickly reporting events from anywhere and sharing them across social media. On the other hand, official Chinese media is constrained by censorship, with major events requiring approval before being reported. This has made it difficult for the public to get timely information. Many netizens left comments saying, out of 10 TV stations, 8 are showing anti-Japanese war dramas. Who still watches that? Others added, the most important thing is that they no longer care about what ordinary people are concerned about. And, we're paying to hear lies. Who watches TV anymore? Another person remarked, it's just for promoting local officials, and there are too many fake, empty, and superficial news reports. Someone else commented that the current CCTV news broadcast probably doesn't even have a viewership rate of 1 in 10,000. From start to finish, it's all fake, empty, and repetitive talk. You can only imagine what it's like for provincial and city TV stations. China's COVID-19 situation continues to escalate, and many people are experiencing various post-COVID symptoms. Recently, numerous citizens have reported cases of shingles, which has become extremely painful for those affected. The outbreak of shingles has been dubbed the new king of viruses for August, but the Chinese authorities have largely ignored the issue, refusing to address it publicly. Professor Feng Aiping, a dermatologist at Shareholders Hospital, explained that shingles primarily affects middle-aged and older adults. It's commonly known as snake wraparound in Chinese, and many consider it to be the most painful skin condition. Ms. Wang, a university teacher in Henan, mentioned that several people at her workplace have recently contracted shingles. She also noted that several of her relatives have developed it over time. Ms. Fang from Jinan, Shandong, also said that there are many shingle patients in the dermatology department of local hospitals. Her 30-year-old child recently developed a mild case and will need to be hospitalized. The doctor advised that without hospitalization, it could spread at home, but since it was detected early, they estimated that a week in the hospital should be enough. Ms. Fan also observed that many young people are currently hospitalized for shingles. Numerous netizens have shared pictures of their shingles outbreaks, showing the condition affecting various parts of their bodies, including the face, around the eyes, mouth, back, and neck. Dr. Liu, a professor at a Canadian traditional Chinese medicine college and the director of Kangmei Chinese Medicine Clinic, pointed out that the sudden large-scale outbreak of shingles, particularly affecting younger individuals, is highly unusual and is certainly related to the pandemic. He explained that infection with the COVID-19 virus can disrupt the immune system, and combined with the effects of the vaccine, it can also lead to immune system disorders. Political commentator Tang Jingyuan, who has a medical background, noted that shingles is not highly contagious and is primarily spread through direct contact. As long as people avoid direct contact with infected individuals, it can be prevented, so there's no need for excessive panic. Recently, a series of scandals have emerged involving companies controlled by China's State-Owned Assets Supervision and Administration Commission, SASAC, from the central to local levels. These companies have been exposed for financial fraud, causing harm to millions of shareholders. Additionally, some companies were found to be profiting illegally from government-held data, drawing public attention. On August 25th, an image circulating online revealed a list of companies involved in these frauds, including several under the control of the State Council's SASAC. One example is Aerospace Power, which engaged in financial fraud for 4 years, inflating its earnings by 3.8 billion yuan, leading 70,000 shareholders into disaster. Another is Oriental Landscape, controlled by the Beijing SASAC, which falsified its accounts for 4 consecutive years, causing its stock to plummet from 23 yuan to 1 yuan, harming 100,000 shareholders. Fudan Fuhua, backed by the Shanghai SASAC, faked its financials for 10 years, hiding behind the prestigious Fudan University name, causing 60,000 shareholders to suffer losses. Special Information, under the control of the Shenzhen SASAC, faked its financial reports for 5 years, inflating its profits by 1.7 billion yuan. Other companies include Hujin Shares, controlled by the Handan SASAC, and Zhongtai Chemical, controlled by the Xinjiang SASAC, among 17 companies in total. In fact, on August 9th, Sina Finance reported that state-owned enterprises have been frequently engaging in financial fraud, with some companies falsifying their accounts for as long as 10 years. The report highlighted the same 17 companies mentioned in the circulated image. Additionally, in June, China's National Audit Office issued a report revealing a growing trend where government-controlled entities were profiting from government data. 4 government departments and 7 affiliated units were found to have illegally charged 240 million yuan by providing data services without proper approval, using 13 different systems to collect these fees. X-platform users commented on the situation. They've exposed the core secret of why A-shares only fall and never rise. Others added, falsifying things is in their DNA, starting with agricultural productivity reports. And these are just the public cases. The ones we'll never hear about include the income details of national leaders and their families. One user remarked, if it's not fake, it's not SASAC. Its sole purpose is to harvest ordinary investors. When its reputation turns bad, they'll just change the name and continue the scam. On August 26, in Changnan County, Wenzhou, Zhejiang, hundreds of construction workers at the San'ao nuclear power project, overseen by China Construction's Second Engineering Bureau, went on strike to demand unpaid wages after months of delays. According to workers involved in the strike, they had not received their wages since May of this year. Despite the construction site operating day and night to push the project forward, their personal lives had been severely impacted by the withheld wages, leaving them in financial difficulty. The workers had repeatedly reported the situation to the site management and relevant departments, but received no effective response. Faced with this unresolved issue, they felt compelled to strike as a way to protect their legal rights and hoped their collective action would draw attention to the problem. The strike lasted throughout the entire day, with hundreds of workers gathering on open ground near the construction site and refusing refusing to continue working. They stated that if the wage issue was not resolved soon, the strike would continue until management provided a clear solution. The San'ao nuclear power project is one of Zhejiang's key energy development projects contracted to China Construction's Second Engineering Bureau. Upon completion, it is expected to significantly boost energy supply in the local and surrounding areas. However, as construction has progressed, the workers have been facing the issue of delayed payments, with wages unpaid for 3 consecutive months. How are the workers supposed to survive under such conditions? This is what led to the collective strike on August 26th. After the government implemented an Internet Identity Authentication Service, it sparked widespread dissatisfaction among the public, leading to an outpouring of complaints and criticisms. On August 27th, during a press conference held by the State Council Information Office, Qiu Baoli, director of the Public Security Bureau of the Ministry of Public Security, publicly responded to concerns about the Internet ID and Internet Certificate system, stating, "You can still access the Internet without using the Internet ID or certificate." Researcher at the First Research Institute of the Ministry of Public Security, Yu Rei, recently commented, "Users don't need a certificate to access the Internet. Rather, this is simply a more secure and convenient option in situations where identity verification is needed, eliminating the need to repeatedly provide personal information to various platforms." One netizen remarked, "The Internet Permit initiative has fizzled out. It went from being mandatory to voluntary. This shift was driven by Professor Lao Dongyan's outspoken opposition, which resonated across the Internet, forcing the authorities to back down. We owe it to Professor Lao and to everyone who raised their voice. Every voice matters. When people stand united, even Mount Tai can be moved. This remains true even today. Salute to Professor Lao Dongyan." Another netizen, Zhang Zhiwei, commented, "Why did this dramatic reversal happen? Because the opposition was too strong and too widespread, it became an unstoppable force. Who would dare to go against the tide? Public sentiment is like divine will, and the voice of the people is like the voice of the heavens." Many other netizens expressed their gratitude towards Professor Lao Dongyan. "Thank you for your efforts. If it weren't for Professor Lao Dongyan's rallying cry, the consequences could have been unimaginable." On July 26, China's Ministry of Public Security and the Cyberspace Administration of China jointly drafted the regulations on the management of national Internet identity authentication public services, draft for solicitation of opinions. This draft requires netizens to log in and use Internet services with an Internet ID and Internet certificate. Despite being in the consultation stage, pilot programs have already been rolled out on 10 government platforms and over 70 major Internet apps, including Taobao, WeChat, QQ, Xiaohongshu, Bilibili, Youku, and iYiqi. This policy announcement sparked strong backlash from the public. People compared it to the health code system, viewing it as a tool for tightening control over freedom of speech and suppressing dissenting voices, further silencing the people. The policy is seen as targeting public intellectuals who voice criticisms online, as well as ordinary citizens who use the Internet to expose government corruption and express dissatisfaction with those in power. The potential consequences of this policy go far beyond speech control and could be far worse than imagined. This transition from control to punishment could involve not only deleting posts, banning accounts or people for questioning, but also prohibiting individuals from accessing essential services such as WeChat Pay, Alipay, online banking, or public transportation. In China, many stores no longer accept cash payments, requiring mobile payments instead. Activities like taking high-speed rail, using ride-hailing services like Didi, and ordering food deliveries all depend on these platforms. Cutting off access to these basic necessities could render people unable to move or even survive in China. In effect, this policy could implement a physical death sentence overnight by severing a person's access to daily life necessities, with the added possibility of real-time tracking and direct arrest. Many dissidents persecuted by the CCP have experienced these consequences firsthand. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the health code system alone was enough to severely restrict people's movements. For example, after the Henan Village Bank scandal, the authorities successfully controlled protesters by assigning them red health codes. China has already enforced a real name registration system for Internet users since 2017. Implementing the Internet ID and certificate system is seen as an extension of the real name system, representing a further tightening of control over netizens. Tsinghua University law professor Lao Dongyan expressed opposition on Weibo, stating, "The Internet ID and certificate system is similar to the health code system used during the pandemic, except now the social control exercised through the health code is being normalized and institutionalized. The Internet ID system essentially installs a surveillance device on every user's Internet activity, allowing authorities to easily collect all traces of Internet usage, including browsing history." Professor of philosophy at Tsinghua University, Huang Yusheng, also wrote, "Any state that attempts to comprehensively monitor its own citizens and strives to make them completely transparent is, in the most blunt and violent way, showing that it is not a government of the people." Soon after these posts, Professor Lao Dongyan's Weibo account was wiped clean, and Professor Huang Yusheng was also silenced.